Esse episódio é apresentado por Ultra Coffee. Performe o seu melhor nos treinos, estudos e trabalho.
Bem-vindo ao MTB Pass, um podcast que te leva para dentro do mundo do mountain bike. Eu sou a Viviane Faveri e a cada 15 dias trago aqui entrevistas com algum personagem do mountain bike mundial. Como eu já falei no bloco anterior, a gente está numa semana excepcional com 2 entrevistados na mesma semana. No bloco A foi o Christopher Blevins e esse aqui, que é o bloco B, é a Hailey Batten. Falei certo, Léo?
Acho que falou, Vivi. Tinha um nome que a gente vai aprender aqui na sequência, ela mesma vai explicar como é que pronuncia. Eu entendi como é que pronuncia, mas como pronuncia ainda é difícil de sair. É Batten. Eu lembro do
tipo
Batman. Batman.
Eu gostei desse seu truque, lembrar do Batman. Então,
Mas você
não
sabe...
é Batten, é Batten.
Mas você sabe que essas coisas eu levo com um pouco de tranquilidade, assim, que eu acho que o mais importante é a gente saber de quem a gente está falando, se comunicar, enfim... A pronúncia correta no idioma local, acho que é uma coisa, como jornalista, é até uma meta, mas como amante do esporte, eu acho que não é uma obsessão, não. Acho que a gente tem que se comunicar, e eu acho que ela consegue fazer isso muito bem, né, Vivi? Eu fiquei impressionado como que ela conversou com você à vontade, com uma naturalidade que nem sempre o entrevistado consegue se dispor a fazer quando está falando com a gente, né?
Ela é muito tranquila e eu me senti amiga dela. Você até
Exato.
brincou, né? Você mandou um WhatsApp pra mim depois que você ouviu o programa falando Vivi e Hailey BFF, tipo Best Friends Forever. Por que você achou isso? Me conta.
Ela estava muito à vontade e ela estava curiosa em relação a você, ela estava
Tava mesmo.
cordial, assim, cordial no sentido de querer que você tirasse o melhor da entrevista e te dar o suporte. A parte quando você fala da menina que vai fazer o K-pop com ela, uma argentina, né, a Sofia,
A Sofia de Villa.
ela ficou super feliz de poder falar disso, de falar do Malacarne, de falar da experiência que ela está esperando correr no Brasil, né, na etapa da Copa do Mundo. Eu fiquei bem impressionado. A gente compara um pouco com a entrevista do Blevins, ela fala um pouco mais rápido, ela tem um raciocínio um pouco mais dinâmico, assim, para quem não tem a língua tão fluente, mas é uma conversa com uma energia muito boa.
Nossa, quando eu terminei, eu gravei um na sequência do outro. Primeiro o Chris, depois a Hailey. Eu terminei esse dia de gravação, eu tava numa vibe, numa energia de inspiração. É engraçado isso, essas pessoas são tão entusiasmadas que passa pra gente. Eu espero que o ouvinte também consiga captar essa energia da entrevista, assim como eu recebi. Saí super inspirada pela alegria mesmo.
Outra coisa que me chamou muita atenção, Vivi, foi a forma como ela falou do ciclismo feminino. Vocês conversaram sobre a dinâmica da prova na Olimpíada, da rivalidade, né, de como é que tem sido o alto nível na disputa feminina. E aí ela fala assim, não, a hora chegou para o ciclismo feminino. Se eu for falar para alguém que está começando agora ou que está assim, a fim de ser uma mountain biker, eu vou falar para ela que a hora é essa, esse é o momento do ciclismo feminino e a hora de ir para cima. Assim, eu achei ela muito otimista e, ao mesmo tempo, uma realidade que a gente tem visto, inclusive no ciclismo de estrada, com o Tour de France feminino, com a Paris-Roubaix feminina, com as equipes,
Sim.
o Ouça abrindo conexões com o ciclismo feminino. Eu não tenho muita dúvida. Eu vi uma outra mulher falando uma coisa muito legal, ela falando, se você acha que o ciclismo feminino hoje já está indo muito bem, é que você ainda não viu o futuro do ciclismo feminino, que vai ser ainda melhor, que é bem isso, né? Assim, tem sido uma ascensão muito rápida e já não era sem tempo, né?
Tava na hora, né? Rápida, entre aspas. Acho que a partir do momento que a gente conseguiu se organizar, a gente explodiu, né? Acho que essa
Exato, acho
seria o
que é
resumo.
embalado, rápido,
É,
exatamente. Não,
é.
ainda
Demorou um
existe um
pouco para
degrau.
começar, mas agora não para mais.
Vamos agora, sem mais enrolação, ouvir essa norte-americana, o que ela tem para falar.
Hailey, first of all, how do I pronounce your last name correctly? Batten?
Like Batten. Yeah.
Batten. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. Okay, so I've
No,
been
no,
saying your
it's
name
totally
wrong
fine.
in the live Red Bull transmission. Haley Batten. That would be
Yeah,
the
that's
right way.
perfect. Yeah, that's
Thank
good.
you. Thank you so much for saying yes to for the interview. You guys are on the team camp with the new team, new bikes, new setup, new team manager, everything. How is it? How does it feel?
Yeah, thanks for having me. No, it's been amazing, actually. I think having a team camp like this is such a good opportunity to meet everybody and kind of practice just, the routine before we get to the World Cups, from the staff to just, the routine with the riders again. So it's been fun, and it's in my hometown in Santa Cruz, so it's probably I'm like the happiest person. It's
Oh my
great.
God, that's the
Yeah.
best scenario ever. You don't
Yeah,
have to
it's
go to
really the
Europe
dream.
for a team
Yeah,
meeting, team training.
exactly. Yep.
I was also gonna ask you, so Chris told us you guys went surfing. How
We
about
did.
that? Do you surf?
Okay, so actually, since my parents have lived here for about a year and a half, and that was their goal to like get into surfing. So we have a bunch of just like foamy, like 8 foot, 9 foot, 10 foot boards, and so yeah, we like brought them all over for the team to try, and we had extra wetsuits at my house, and between Brian Gordon, who manages the Epic at Specialized in Morgan Hill, so he joined us, and we got a bunch of athletes to and staff to like get in their wetsuits and get in the water, and it was like perfect waves, like just small, like beginner waves. So I think everyone was having a really good time. Jordan was actually the first one to catch a wave. He like just got right on, like stood up and everything. It was great. I think he got more waves than I did, actually. But no, I'm actually not that good at surfing. I don't go enough, but it's a perfect like rest day activity. And yeah, it's so fun just like being on the water and doing something different. And I think sometimes as athletes we think that we always need to bike and or recover, but doing stuff like that, I think it's so good both mentally and physically. So I've
Oh,
tried to pick it up since being here.
that's amazing. I love it. And yeah, Cape Epic is getting close, and I just heard you're gonna race with Sophia, which
Uh-huh.
I love her. She's such a
Good.
nice, unique figure. Where did you
Yes.
guys meet?
So, I grew up in Park City, Utah. So her boyfriend, Keegan Swenson, we were definitely in the same realm in Park City. He was always a bit older, but he was like the young star in Park City, and I was kind of following a little bit, doing some of the same races. We actually ended up being on the same development team, whole athlete, but I missed him. So like he kind of, left the team and then I got on. So kind of followed in a way his process. But we've always just kind of been connected throughout that time, just being from Utah. And then that was really my connection to her. And then she got on the Cliff Pro team right after I left. So we've just been in the same circle, racing each other, being from Utah for a long time. So I like her a
Mhm.
lot. And she raced the Cape Epic in last year when it was delayed in October. So I just was kind of able to see that one, she's on Specialized bikes, which is awesome, but
Mhm.
she did a great job. And I think she had some really fast stage times and stuff. And she was just in such great shape. And her teammate, wasn't able to finish. So to do that, like as an individual rider is really impressive. And
Mhm.
just knowing Sophia, like she's a very planned out person, and she's very well prepared. She knows her equipment, and um and and also, racing so much more than just the training. There's, heat training, fueling, your bike equipment, and the tire pressure, and how you're going to manage, especially at the Cape Epic when you flat or something like that. So I know she's just like dialed with all of that stuff. So to see that she's just so strong, and she's been getting stronger every year, I think, and has
Yeah.
all that dialed, I think she'll be a great person to do it with, but also kind of guide me, having done it before. So
Yeah, that's
yeah.
cool. Yeah, but you have done it with Annika, and
Mhm.
that's also pretty special.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the Swiss Epic with Annika is like she's the legend of these events. So I think, yeah, I think I would never. Yeah, I have no words. Just
Yeah.
chasing her wheel down is like a crazy experience for sure, and I just learned so much. So I think together, like bringing that kind of experience that I learned from her, and also Annika will be at the Cape Epic again, so she'll be there helping out, and that's like the best person you could have on your team,
Wow.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you be able to share this one thing that you learned with Annika that changed
Yeah, gosh, I think
highlight?
yeah, there's probably two things. Like one, when you watch these stage races, you'll see a lot of teams that are maybe really strong, both riders, but they don't really maximize. Sometimes one rider's a bit stronger on the day and they think that they should be in the lead and they just go for it, and the other person just like slowly burning extra matches. And in the end, maybe they had a stronger duo, but they didn't utilize that teamwork in a really good way that allowed them to, win that stage or even win the event. And what Annika does really well is she's very in tune with her teammate, and especially because I'd say she's usually the stronger rider. She comes to those events very well prepared, super strong base, like she and experience wise, she knows what she's doing and how to win those races, but she doesn't take that perspective and try to lead every day or like drag you to the win. Instead, she's so in tune of like, for me, like what my fitness level was and where are my strengths on the course. So she just balanced so well, like when I needed to be in front, when she needed to be in front. And then the second thing is like she races to win. Like even though those stages are long days and you've got multiple of them back to back to back, even when we had like a huge gap in points or we had already had a huge gap, on the day, we were like gunning it, like every chance we had, like on the flats, or even like I remember one time we were like ripping through the streets in Switzerland, like just the final pavement section before getting the finish, like we were flying. And this just the mindset that she has, she's there to perform and to win and to maximize every single day. And I think sometimes when you get into those stage race, mentality, you think that, okay, we got to save for the next day, or like we need to, like, we'll have time, we already have a gap. But I don't know, like, or you just go for it and you trust that you have a strong team and you just race hard and give everything you have every single day. So that was just cool. That was an incredible experience, just to, she never said that once, but just being behind her and watching her body position and the power that she's putting into the bike, it's just something you feel and experience when you're racing with her. And I just had a blast because it was so cool to race like that, and we were just flying every day. It was awesome.
That's great. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for sharing these experiences. So personal, but at the same time, I learn from it. It
cool.
inspires me so much. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
Annika's
Um,
an inspiring athlete for sure. So I
yeah.
think just everybody that's gone to watch her,
Uh-huh.
dominate in both marathon and in the epic series, I
Yeah.
think we're lucky to kind of have her, guide
I
the way.
love that. By the way, since we're talking about her, I'm just gonna mention I love the content that she's doing after
Yeah,
retirement. That's also
totally.
inspiring. Like she's
Yeah.
going to work when she says that she's tired, I'm like, oh my God, I can relate to you somehow.
Yes.
And like seeing that she's human, that she has other needs other than bike racing and taking care of her personal life and the other professional life that she loves, being a dentist. I just absolutely love what she's doing behind the race tape, the racetrack.
I agree completely. And I think the majority of people, right, aren't professional athletes like we are, like every single day is, biking, rest, bike, eat, rest,
Yeah.
repeat, whatever it is. So for her to kind of take a step back and be in the shoes that so many, weekend warriors are in, or, we're trying to do their job, but also, compete at cool races like the Cape Epic or something like that. It's real. And she's so intelligent. I mean, she can kind of show people, okay, this is the training that I'm doing, but also like, yeah, it's hard, it's hard to do both mentally and physically. You're tired.
Hmm.
And also like we have to remember, like, she was going to school for a lot of, the big performances she's doing. So just me, like, being on the team for a short, that weird 2020 season with her, but to have that time at the Swiss Epic and then the few World Cups that we had, like, I'm a student still, and I'm trying to balance that with being an athlete. And, she did it and she
Hmm.
loved both. And I think that balance, taught her a lot as well. And I find the same. So having that kind of input from her and just having those conversations is really good. And I think a lot of us forget that there is a real world, and we have to balance both. And if we love, more than one thing, that's okay sometimes. And sometimes they kind of come together to make you better at both in the end.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned school, you're also studying. And what are you studying for? Where? And why did you choose to go there?
Yeah. So I go to school at a small liberal arts and sciences school in Squamish, BC. So it's just between Vancouver and Whistler, actually, in what I think is like the most beautiful place on earth. So I love it for sure. But yeah, I of course I went there because it has great training in mountain biking. And because of course that's a priority in my life, but also like the school there it's like everything that I could really dream of what I want in an education, and there I'm actually focusing on education. The major there is like a build your own degree, really. So in it comes in the form of a question. So mine is, how can education be optimized to inspire? So I feel like just coming out of the public school system in high school, I felt like education's so valuable, but most students there are kind of just dragging their feet. They don't want to be there. They're kind of not inspired, by their learning process. So yeah, I'm really interested in just how the brain learns most effectively and how we can apply science-based learning into education systems to make it more engaging and yeah, inspiring for students so that they can have, real world application of what they're learning into things that interest them.
Would you say that going to university and studying is your way of resting a bit, resting your mind from bike racing, even though you are in that environment that is absolutely amazing for outdoor sports?
Yeah, I think that in many ways I think a lot of athletes are I think sometimes coaches, the best thing that a coach can do is almost slow an athlete down, is like just like, whoa, actually you don't need to ride 5 hours every day. Like, okay, like we need a rest day. Let's like hold off just a bit. So like school's kind of that for me, I think, where I'm like forced after the season ends to like completely pull the plug, to like completely engage my body and mind in a totally different way and be surrounded by an external stimulus that's just so different than what I'm doing all summer long. So I think like my coach, makes me like really stop riding, decrease like my exercise and training load so much. But then school's like a way where I'm enjoying that time and I have other interests and things that are engaging me and really, motivating for me to work towards.
Mm-hmm.
And also like, I think in general, it trains my brain to focus as well, which like applies directly to mountain biking too. Like I think sometimes when we have a lot of although athletes are really busy, we have a lot of rest time sometimes. And when you're a student, you realize like how much you can get done in a day, and you're so focused and there's so much you have to accomplish. And, you have to sit down and work on an essay for a long period of time and get it done, so you can submit it the next day. And that type of focus and just dedication to the task at hand, I think is totally applies to what I do later on. So, and that's just one thing, but I think there's so much that kind of they play together and they help.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd say for sure, just training wise, I pull the plug and I'm interested in something else, and I think that helps me build back up later in the year.
I want to go first with that school topic. How, like, where were you at school on that point? Were you on a break from school, and how did you manage? Is Olympic year? Did you manage to, okay, your teachers understood that you had another mission? What did you do?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So it's actually been interesting for me kind of looking back at my school because I'm still kind of trying to plan everything out. Like I've slowed my school process down just so that I can balance both a bit better. I feel like if I do a little bit less of school, then I can do both well instead of, trying to overdo both and disliking both. So when I'm still planning out my future, I've kind of like looked back at, what I did when I like first went to university, and I like created this document that I still use today that's like a, just a Google Docs, form with just like a calendar basically for the 6 years, ahead. And I'd planned out like every single course that I would take for like the next 6 years, and I had, months that I would take off of school, and I had it all planned out all the way to 2020, which like I honestly like when I started university when I was, gosh, I don't even know, how old I was then. I was like pretty determined to go to the Olympics. I wanted to be in Tokyo. I had like little, pictures on my university, like board and stuff of just like the Tokyo symbol. And so I had that all planned in. Like I was going to do that. That was part of my schedule. So I'd basically planned out that I would start taking off like a little bit less school like the year before, and then like the year of would kind of be my year to focus just on that. And then obviously like 2020 ended up being like crazy, like so different than what anybody expected. So my planning changed a lot and I had to adapt, but that's like what we do, as mountain bikers all the time. And so I kind of changed things up a bit, but I still like had 2021 then reserved as like that was my year to do the Olympics. So 2020 kind of helped me in a way, is that like I was able to actually take some summer courses that I've never been able to do before. So I was still like basically on track with everything. But 2021, yeah, I did like maybe a couple courses early in the year, like fall and winter. And then I honestly didn't do much. Like it was full on, like I'm going to the Olympics and that's going to be my goal. And I was still able to do like mostly classes were online too. So that like ended up helping me out a bit too. So I could be here in California, like in great weather training for that. And so, yeah, I'd say like it's basically just come with a lot of planning and thinking ahead and knowing what my priorities are. I care a lot about school, but I know which events I want to perform at. And then this year is, okay, it's the year after the Olympics. Can I get more schooling in? How am I going to balance that all out? So
yeah, you are the owner of your choices. You're not letting just life happen and see what happens and what you do. It's like
totally.
You don't leave empty room for those bad thoughts or questioning too much. That's amazing. That's really awesome. How hard is it to be consistent throughout the year? Because I can also change this question considering because you got your spot when you won the World Cup. So were you able to relax a bit to focus on the Olympic performance?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question, because I think that in mountain biking especially, you have the World Cup overall title. So there's a lot of, you can go for world champs, or you can kind of go for the World Cup overall, and it changes like how you perform, or how you're going to lay out your season, or if you're going to be prepared at every event. And I'd say that like as an athlete develops and kind of builds that base of just like fitness, every single year you see those more experienced riders able to go for those more consistent World Cup overall titles, because I think they can just hold on. I mean, I guess Luana won it this year, so it's hard to say like how that's possible, but I think for me is like that's a huge learning process. Like that's kind of my next goal is, okay, I know how to perform at like a couple key events, but how can I hold on to that for the whole season and all the way to the end? And I'd say that last year for me, like I knew that because I hadn't been able to race elite the years prior, that I needed to qualify. I needed to like make it very clear that I belonged at the Olympics, and that one chance was at Nove Mesto. So like for me, that was like my number one peak. Like I needed to be good that day.
I got the chills.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
It is crazy. Yeah, and you have to like that was in the that was Olympic criteria for the US. Like you needed to basically podium, and then you could go. And so that was my goal. And then honestly, like my performance at the Olympics kind of had to come second to that, because it was, first go to the Olympics, second perform. And so I checked off my first goal, which was, perform at Nove Mesto. I think I was the best I could have been that day. And it was incredible. It was such a special feeling. I think I was almost shocked, right? Like I didn't even actually think about the fact that I qualified for the Olympics, because I was just so focused on that day and just being my best. And then, it's just like, yeah, okay, now I've qualified, like shift, make the plan, like, all right, how can we perform and be our best at Tokyo? And so
amazing. And then you were super consistent actually, because you were always top 20, okay, maybe 22, 23, but that's you were there, like you didn't fade, you didn't get injuries.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
was,
totally. And I think, yeah, like top 20 is like okay, you know, so that like it's fine, but it's not, I think, where I want to be as an athlete, you know. It's like I want to be on that podium. I want to be like a top 10 rider consistently. So it's definitely like really motivating for me, I think, to like be there and see what's possible.
mhm.
You know, go to the Olympics, have such an incredible experience, you know, just all of 2021. The whole thing was just amazing. I don't think I could be, you know, disappointed in that at all. But to finish the season with these races, like, oh man, like I was on the podium. Like, why am I like dying to get in the top 20 right now? Like, why is it so hard for me to do that? And I think it's just probably because my body was cooked, you know?
Yeah.
And so the next thing is, okay, like, well, next year my goal isn't to like qualify for the Olympics in the second race of the season. So how can we kind of shift what the goals are and experiment a little bit, because the next Olympics is 3 years away. So this is kind of the year of, okay, let's trial and error, you know, let's figure
Mhm.
out the way that you said. I think consistency is such a big goal in this sport. And so trying to get there, I think is would be really
Yeah.
cool.
Can
Yeah.
can we say that chances you come to Brazil for the first World Cup are low because of Cape Epic?
Yeah, probably, which is such a bummer because
Yeah.
I would love to go.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
gonna be crazy. The crowds are gonna be so uh, loud and
I know.
excited.
Yeah, especially, you know, because Alex Malacarne was, I don't know.
Yes,
Is that how
Alex
you say his last name? Yeah, he's
Malacarne. It's Malacarne. Alex
Yeah,
Malacarne.
yeah. He's just such a great guy, and it was so super cool to be his teammate last year. And just even at snowshoe, there was like a small little Brazil like cheer squad, and just to see the energy just there, just a little bit of it, and just talking to him about it as well.
Yeah.
So it would be really cool, especially just knowing Alex and just being able to experience that, I think would be amazing. And yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
I wish. I know both Chris and I really want to. Like that would be incredible, but we'll have to see. Like it's so hard to tell the Cape Epic how your body's going to handle it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
So I
especially
think we'll just have to see.
yeah, it's with what you said about last year, and
Yeah.
you for sure you're gonna need some rest after
Yeah,
to
exactly.
reset and take it in and
Yeah.
use what you gained, right, on the right
Exactly.
time.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing about the Cape Epic. Like you have to go in really prepared, and then you have to make sure you can recover, you know,
Yeah.
adequately after, because if you don't, it can really fry your season because it's
Hmm.
such a demanding race from what it sounds like. So I just want to make sure that I optimize on that opportunity, you know, and use it to become stronger, you know.
Yeah. What advice would you give to young female writers?
That's such a good question. Um, I think first I would say that like you belong in the mountain bike space, and I think more than ever like that the time has arrived for like young girls in mountain biking. And just like from my perspective, like I was a young girl and I raced with guys like until I was probably about 14 years old. It was like me riding around, racing around with a big group of guys. And the reason that I'm still doing it today or didn't quit and it's made me the athlete that I am today is because my parents and all my friends that I was riding with fully respected me and treated me like I belonged there. And that was the perspective that I shaped in my head, you know, like no matter what, I knew that I loved this sport and I could do it and I belonged here. And I think that's been highlighted more and more every year, you know, every generation. I think that we see that just the numbers of young women in mountain biking is growing drastically. And on top of that, I think that we also need to remember that we build each other up, and that as women athletes and female riders together, we kind of help push each other to get stronger and take mountain biking and women mountain biking to the next level. And that's what we do as a group. You know, every time I start on the start line, I part of that is my mission, right? If I go hard, I'm pushing these athletes to go harder, and mountain biking and women's mountain biking gets more exciting for people to watch and for young girls to be part of. So I think that it's not, you know, the girl next to me versus me, and really, you know, it's us kind of moving and taking this sport to the next level. And I think that girls need to remember that we don't always need to be like this, going against each other. I think that one, you belong in the sport, and two, like, women can work together to make this sport super exciting and fun to watch and make a place for women in mountain biking. And I think that's continuing to rise every single year.
I love talking to you. I feel like this is more like a conversation than an interview.
Yeah, totally. I love talking to you.
Yeah, thank you. That means
great.
a lot. Thanks. I am sure that you are a great inspiration for younger kids, younger riders. And it's so good to see the market, the brands developing the right people, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I'm so happy to see you on one of the biggest teams, on a great environment with the best support you can have, because for me personally, that's why sports is important in my vision, is because the people like you get the opportunity to share your vision of the world and what humans are capable of, and in that community working together, what we can achieve together. So all those values that you share, that you speak about, that you are, they totally reflect my vision of the sport. And I am beyond honored to talk to you. And my husband is gonna listen to the interview and he's gonna be like, I knew it was gonna be rainbows and unicorns, because that's when I get so excited, that's what he says, that the interview sounds like rainbows and unicorns, but it's honest by my side. It's truly honest.
Oh, well, thank you. No, it's been a pleasure to chat with you as well. And I think it's so cool that this is how you're telling the mountain bike, the racing story.